Rumor: CCP allegedly orders expulsion of outside rescue teams, forcing them to leave Zhuozhou. Flood disaster affects 2 million citizens. CCP's enthusiastic promotion receives 400 million donations, criticized as unethical. China's 100 billion county list released. Scholars: data fabrication. Foreigners are not willing to come to China. Profound implications for the economy. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Rumor: CCP allegedly orders expulsion of outside rescue teams, forcing them to leave Zhuozhou. Floodwater release in Zhuozhou, Hebei Province, has resulted in both urban and rural areas being inundated, leaving the affected residents in dire straits. However, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, officials have imposed restrictions on outside rescue teams' participation in relief efforts, and recently issued an order for them to leave Zhuozhou. On August 3, the formidable Gongyang rescue team announced their withdrawal from Zhuozhou, stating that they received instructions from the Emergency Management Department, which is under the authority of the CCP's State Council. The announcement claimed that the local disaster situation was stabilizing and improving, and that there was an excess of on-site rescue forces, affecting normal command and dispatch. In a group on Weibo called Zhuozhou Information Sharing Group 10, a member of an outside rescue team mentioned that Zhuozhou officials asked them to leave, saying, "They told us that they don't need our rescue team anymore." The team member also revealed that 70% of outside rescue teams had already left on the 3rd, and more teams were expected to leave on the 4th. They repeatedly complained that the Zhuozhou authorities have been unresponsive, not meeting with outside rescue teams, and failing to effectively coordinate and manage the relief efforts. The outside rescue teams had to explore and communicate directly with the affected residents in need of help, while the authorities only confronted them directly and criticized them. Chinese state media reported that Zhuozhou authorities dispatched 8,755 rescue workers, and more rescue teams were deployed from neighboring Hunan and Shaanxi provinces. However, rescue and relief efforts were delayed in some areas due to bureaucratic red tape. A stamp of approval was required to mobilize rescue efforts. A local resident informed Chinese media that the township official seal stamp was already gone with the water, making it extremely difficult for outside rescue teams to effectively carry out their mission. Eventually, the rescue teams requested an official application to leave the province while a large number of people remained stranded in the floodwaters and reached out for help desperately on social media. Many internet users speculate that the authorities' reluctance to welcome outside rescue teams is primarily to prevent sensitive information from leaking out and exposing the dire situation in the local disaster area. In contrast, they find it easier to control the actions of local rescue teams. On Twitter, users commented that the government considers blocking information more important than bringing in rescue teams to save people. They fear that if the rescue teams spread information about the situation, it may lead to social unrest. When a disaster strikes, we can't rely on the government or even charitable organizations for rescue. This is truly evil. There has never been such a regime in history, either domestically or internationally. The public also speculates that due to the severity of casualties and deaths in this flood, the authorities are actively trying to conceal the truth. Regarding the flood disaster, Chinese hydrologist Wang Weiluo told the Epoch Times that, under the CCP flood control system, the ordinary citizen's well-being is not a priority. It's the unspoken rule of the CCP. He said the flood control in the Hai River Basin protects Tianjin but not the city's outskirts. There are golf courses along the Yongding River in Beijing, which could take up a lot of floodwaters and are easier and more affordable to replace if damaged, but instead, the regime prioritizes the urban areas of Beijing because the elites live there. Human disaster: consequences of the CCP's fighting against the sky in the flood. Wang Weiluo expressed that there are many issues in this flood, but the outside world cannot see them mainly because the information cannot be released. He speculates that certain areas in Hebei, including Baoding, Shijiazhuang, and Qingtai, may have even more severe disaster situations compared to Zhuozhou. He stated, Hebei is entirely a result of human intervention. During many instances of artificial regulation in Hebei, it is designed in a way that the water flows south when we want it to, and it goes east when we want it to. The entire design revolves around the Communist Party's control over water, making it obey their commands. They decide whom to flood. For instance, if they want to flood farmers, they will. So the farmers question them, why distribute floodwaters? Why not distribute funds? One also highlighted that the CCP approach to governing the Haihe River Basin has a long history of fighting against nature, which has resulted in numerous problems. For instance, during the Great Leap Forward period, the construction of numerous reservoirs for water storage led to the drying up of most rivers in the Haihe River Basin. This, in turn, caused the backflow of water from the Bohai Sea, leading to intermittent flooding of rice fields. Additionally, the CCP installed gates on the Haihe River to block the Bohai Sea. The Danchuanka Reservoir, one of the pilot projects for quick, good, and economical construction of reservoirs, located in Tongling, Anhui Province, collapsed during a major flood in 1963, resulting in severe casualties. In response, Mao Zedong ordered the rectification of the Haihe River, prompting the CCP to implement river digging policies diverting the Haihe River into the Bohai Sea before reaching Tianjin. As a consequence, the downstream river channels of the Haihe River mostly dried up. The newly dug rivers had deep beds, leading to the disappearance of shallow groundwater in Hebei. Agriculture in the North China Plain had to rely on extracting groundwater, causing wells to be dug deeper and deeper, leading to the current issue of ground subsidence. CCP's enthusiastic promotion receives 400 million donations, criticized as unethical. As the flood in Hebei continues, the authorities are publicizing the news of Hebei launching fundraising campaigns, with donations exceeding 400 million renminbi, while at the same time, they promote the accepted ways of disaster relief donations in Zhuozhou, Hebei on Weibo's hot search. According to incomplete statistics from Caixin, as of the morning of the 3rd, large private enterprises in the internet, new energy, and mobile phone industries have made donations. Tencent and ByteDance each donated 100 million renminbi, Alibaba, JD.com, and Pinduoduo donated 30 million renminbi in cash and goods, Xiaomi donated 25 million renminbi, BYD, Ideal Automobile, and Ant Group each donated 20 million renminbi, NetEase donated 10 million renminbi in cash and goods, while Shell Group, Shansong, Longfor Group, and others donated amounts ranging from 200,000 to 8 million renminbi. The total amount is up to 400 million renminbi, equivalent to $55.7 million US. The official approach faced significant questioning from the public. Many doubt whether the money will truly reach the hands of the disaster victims and who will supervise it. They also express concerns about the unethical actions of the Red Cross in Wuhan in the past, which damaged public credibility, and now they are being asked to donate again. Similarly, during the pandemic, the Red Cross in Wuhan and Shanghai reportedly discarded donated supplies from other regions, leaving a lasting impression on the public's memory. Local residents in Hebei are voicing their outrage, expressing, "There's an abundance of relief supplies, but they haven't reached us. There are still people who haven't had food or water until now. Truckloads of relief materials keep arriving, but nothing seems to be distributed back out. Every time, it seems like just a symbolic donation. How much of it actually reaches us without going bad or expiring? Doesn't the country have a dedicated emergency relief fund? Why isn't it being used now? Are they all corrupt? The Red Cross staff earn an annual salary of 450,000 renminbi. Can they manage things on a monthly salary of 3,000 renminbi? During the flood disaster, another notable issue has come to the forefront. As we can see, numerous videos circulated on the internet, showing the collapse of bridges in Hebei's Xiaoqing River, road surface collapses in some regions, single-story houses and vehicles floating in the water, low-rise buildings submerged, factory buildings flooded, and some villages cut off from communication. These series of reports have raised public concerns about the state of domestic infrastructure, which is also considered one of the key contributing factors to the severity of this disaster. China's 100 billion county list released, scholars, data fabrication. CCID Consulting, a subsidiary of the China Electronic Information Industry Research Institute, has recently published a ranking called the 2023 China Top 100 County Economy Research. According to this report, the collective GDP of the top 100 counties in China has reached 8.6 trillion renminbi, equivalent to $1.199 trillion, accounting for 7.1% of the country's total economy. Notably, this year's list includes 10 more counties with a GDP exceeding 100 billion renminbi, nearly $14 billion, compared to the previous year. To be included in the list, a county, or city/district, must have a GDP of no less than 60 billion renminbi, approximately $8.3 billion, and a general public budget of no less than 2 billion renminbi, approximately $279 million. Among the top 10 counties, 6 belong to Jiangsu province, with Conceal, Jiangning, Zhangjiagang, and Changshu securing the top 4 positions. According to the study, it's reported that the billion-yuan counties are experiencing a robust growth trajectory. Topping the list is Conceal, with a staggering GDP of 500.67 billion yuan, approximately $70 billion, in 2022, making it the first county-level city in the country to surpass the 500 billion mark. However, in May of this year, there was widespread talk about one-third of Conceal's Taiwanese businesses pulling out, and it's said that most of the remaining factories have also shifted their production capacity elsewhere. In comparison to the quarterly averages of the past 3 years, Conceal's first quarter investment from Taiwanese businesses has plummeted by 80%. Previously, approximately 30% of Conceal's GDP was heavily reliant on these Taiwanese enterprises. Economist Li Hengqing, who resides in the United States, remarked, over the past 2 years, especially in the first half, a considerable number of Taiwanese companies withdrew their investments and flocked to Southeast Asia, particularly Vietnam. Yet, oddly enough, Conceal's GDP didn't decrease but instead increased. Can we really trust this data? Li pointed out a problem: officials produce data, and data produce officials. When fabricated economic data looks rosy, it can lead to promotions and personal gains. The common people say, with so many billion-yuan counties, shouldn't there be better employment opportunities? Shouldn't it be easier for young graduates to find jobs? Shouldn't the salaries of government officials increase? But the reality is the opposite. So, where does the problem lie? It's in one point: data falsification. Many netizens also expressed their disbelief in this report. Some residents in the listed counties point out that the local average income is quite low. Economist Davy J. Wong, residing in the United States, mentions that internationally, economic structure, security, debt ratio, and per capita GDP are more considered, but China's ranking completely ignores these aspects. The focus of these 54 counties is solely on the total GDP without taking into account per capita GDP. Moreover, many counties and cities may merge or split to chase performance, rendering this data practically meaningless. Xing Xuguang, a US-based political and economic scholar, does not rule out the possibility of local governments falsifying their GDP, and in many cases, GDP growth may be fueled by taking on debts. Borrowing money for projects: when you start a project, your entire balance sheet expands, and the other side of debt turns into assets. Additionally, you borrow money to boost GDP, but the officials benefit more from it. They get more opportunities for embezzlement in major projects. The debt belongs to the government, but the money they embezzle is their own. Economist Davy J. Wong points out that the CCP's sole GDP approach has led to a distorted evaluation standard. Localities extensively invest in infrastructure to boost GDP, but this also results in high levels of debt. Some of this debt may even remain unpaid for the next 100 years. Foreigners are not willing to come to China: profound implications for the economy. In China, the borders have been reopened for nearly half a year, but there are still very few foreign tourists, especially in major cities like Beijing and Shanghai. It has significantly decreased to less than 1/4 of the pre-pandemic levels in 2019. Zhangjiajie National Forest Park, the shooting location for the movie Avatar, used to attract many foreign tourists with its unique rock landscapes. However, as of mid-May, the park only received 25,600 overseas visitors, compared to 500,000 in the same period of 2019. Latest data shows that in the first quarter of this year, Chinese travel agencies only received 52,000 inbound tourists, a steep decline compared to 3.7 million in the same period of 2019. Additionally, nearly half of the visitors were from Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau, not from Europe, the United States, Japan, or Korea. Data from Mondi Holdings, a travel technology company based in Austin, USA, shows that leisure travel from North America to China in the first half of 2023 was only about 40% of the level in the same period of 2019. The Wall Street Journal reported on August 3 that experts believe the decrease in international tourists might also lead to reduced investment in China. According to an analysis by the research firm Rhodium Group's Mark Vitska, based on government data, foreign direct investment in China dropped to $20 billion in the first quarter of 2023, compared to $100 billion in the same quarter last year. As foreign investment and tourist arrivals decline, the Chinese economy is experiencing stagnation with almost no growth in the second quarter. The real estate market is sluggish, and the youth unemployment rate has reached a historic high, leading to increasing concerns about China facing deflation. Experts state that one reason foreign tourists are avoiding China is the continued deterioration of relations between the CCP and the West, making them more cautious about traveling to China. In June, the U.S. government issued a travel advisory warning American citizens to reconsider traveling to China due to the CCP's arbitrary law enforcement, which could result in exit bans and improper detention. Furthermore, on July 1, the newly revised counter-espionage law of the Chinese Communist Party came into effect, expanding the interpretation of violations of national security standards and increasing the government's authority to conduct searches, detain individuals, and impose personal exit bans, causing deep concern among foreigners. Dan Harris, a partner of Harris & Brixen, a law firm based in Seattle, stated, "The companies are very, very concerned about their employees going to China." Harris said that many executives are now more focused on the risks rather than the speed of visa processing. People don't go to China unless they have to. As previously reported, in June, a video circulated on Chinese social media showing a man standing on the desolate Fuxing Road in Shanghai, pointing to the empty buildings on both sides of the road. He mentioned that the mass exodus of foreign expatriate managers from the Fortune Global 500 companies has led to a dramatic drop in luxury apartment rentals in Shanghai. The man said, "In the past, Yongkang Road was filled with foreigners, the whole street bustling with them. Now, there's not a single foreigner, only Chinese people. The foreigners have all left." Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.